and Goku and go on from Dragon Ball Z, and you're listening to the Monsters with Attitude podcast. Like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, embrace the attitude! Yeah!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Monsters with Attitude podcast, where we're having a little raw attitude. Another special segment we are doing today, where we are doing a vendor spotlight for the upcoming G-Fest, the 2024 G-Fest, held from July 12th through the July 14th in Rosemont, Illinois. And today, basically what we just want to do is highlight some of the vendors and dealers that we have personally bought from, that we know, that we trust, that have been schoolboy bullies and taken all of our money at past G-Fests, and in a good way, though, of course. And yeah, I'm excited. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I'm excited for this this segment, this series, I guess you could call it. We're gonna be talking to vendors and stuff like that. That we, like you said, we personally have purchased from, that we had good experiences from, have great merchandise. Inventory is just, I mean, levels tall, and everything. And this dealer vendor is no exception. He brings a crap ton of stuff to G-Fest, so it's awesome to see him every year. And yeah, I can't wait to talk to him.
Yeah, well, with that, let's bring him on. We have Barry Kaufman from House of Monsters. Barry, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on the Raw Attitude podcast. I saw that's what it's called, and I'm kind of old, so I hope I'm not don't give a stale attitude to the podcast. But it definitely is cool. And I have never seen the podcast, to be honest. The opening is awesome, and I'm going to watch that episode you told me about. But thank you so much for having me on, and it's good to be turned on to a new podcast. On top of that.
Yeah. Our pleasure. I want to start the way we do with all of them. How'd you become a Godzilla fan? What's your earliest memory? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, pretty much it's goes back to Svengoolie, who's a horror host in Chicago, and he showed when I was I think probably 8 or 9 years old. He showed Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, maybe a little later than that, but he showed Smog Monster. Now, I'd seen the original Godzilla on Creature Features when I was 6 or 7 or 8, and I was aware of Godzilla already. I was buying things, but magazine stuff. But that was cool. But then when I saw Godzilla versus Hedorah, and Godzilla was saving the Earth, from pollution, and I'd seen a few little public service ads on it, and was very conscious of it for the reasons I like little creatures, lizards and reptiles and things. And so I saw that film. I thought, wow, Godzilla is really great. And just the way he looked in that film, for some reason, I'm not sure exactly what it was. Maybe you could look into his eyes and sort of you were you could connect with him in a certain way because of his face or his expressions, or way Hiro Nakajima played him in the movie, sort of in a way that he just seemed so accessible to me, and like a monster I could hug or a monster I could love, as a little kid. But I also loved that it was like a horror movie too. I thought that was cool because I loved horror films. So I was like, wow, Godzilla does all this stuff in one movie, and the visuals were so spectacular. And then from that time on, it was searching for anything to do with Godzilla. And of course, at that time, because I'm old, there wasn't that much Godzilla stuff around. Today it's hard to believe, obviously, but in the 70s, there was not a lot of Godzilla stuff to collect. I mean, you could find books with Godzilla, and we looked for horror books and monster books, magazines, but there wasn't a lot of toys and stuff. So I really went wild. And I was even excited about the Shogun Godzilla. The Mattel Shogun Godzilla came out when I was 12 or whatever, 13. I was like, wow, even though people today say that's not Godzilla. To me, that was amazing, to have something like that was still Godzilla. So that's sort of how I got started, in a way.
Interesting. So is Hedorah your favorite Godzilla film?
Well, it's funny. I will show you this. If you can see this, this is a flyer from some films I programmed, and it's Godzilla versus a Smog Monster with frogs, an eco double feature. So I just showed that last month at a theater in Chicago, and people loved it. A lot of people hadn't seen it, but that's sort of the Godzilla movie I would use as like, for me, even though the 1954 Godzilla is a superior film and the Japanese version is incredible, I sort of use it as an introduction to Godzilla through me,
Okay. And actually, I agree with what you were saying. Showa is sometimes known for its camp and corniness, which is great. Honestly, it is. But especially in Hedorah, yes, there is some campiness or whatever,
right.
But there are the kind of those horror elements to it if you actually kind of think about it. Like there's some darker, grittier, the skeleton hand, and there's some there's definitely some horror aspects to it.
Yeah, it's also kind of a psychedelic trip too, which is odd for a Godzilla movie. It's very hippie.
Yes.
I think I liked that too at the time, and it is dark. And a lot of the Showa series, gets that rap, but actually many of them, like were written with more serious underlying themes in mind. Even though the execution sometimes today seems anachronistic and campy and things like that, but all those movies almost have some underlying theme that actually has some gravity to it. Most of them do, which is interesting. Some execute that better than others, but I always thought that was great about the Showa series is like in Godzilla versus Mothra when they're on the island and, you see all the destruction from the, atomic testing and they won't give us Mothra because of what we did to them and all those considerations of humanity and war and stuff. So I think there's always like considerations in those movies that I really think make them interesting. They're sort of underneath all the time,
And honestly, that's one of the biggest things I think people like look past is that because of the campiness or the corniness or the silliness, they don't understand that there is actual messages behind these movies and stuff like that. And they just don't see it because they're so focused on how cheesy it looks per se, to them and everything, that they just don't actually think about it in a deep sense that there actually is a message that they're trying to portray in a lot of these movies. And it's kind of sad that a lot of people don't understand that. And us as Godzilla fans, we try to, voice that to people, to non-fans, to casual, maybe watchers and stuff like that. And they just don't get it. And that's okay. And some people just maybe will never get it, but it's good that us as Godzilla fans, like try to spread that message. Like, hey, like there actually is meaning to a lot of these, even though, some people don't want to admit it.
Well, I think a lot of that also stems from like in King Kong versus Godzilla, the Japanese version is much better than the American version, certainly. But regardless, the Japanese version really brings out, it's really like a crazy satire of pharmaceutical industries, mass marketing, how far these companies will go. That's such a crazy theme. Media, like coverage of the fight and stuff like that. It's got so much cool stuff in it. The Japanese version is somewhat lost in the American version. But I love that. I love that movie for that. And the whole context is so funny with the berry juice and the pharmaceutical and everything. I just like all the little touches and ironies. But all the movies have that. Ghidorah has this political theme going through it, the unrest and the woman being like the messenger and stuff. There's everything. All those movies have something cool,
Yep. Absolutely.
For sure. So when did you become a dealer? Or when, and not only just a dealer, but actually, so you do a lot of like movie festivals or things that
it's great. Yeah, I've had that opportunity in Chicago for the past couple of years. I'm really into horror too, so I show obscure horror movies, but also when I have the opportunity, I like to show like sci-fi and Godzilla and Japanese fantasy, to expose people to things that they haven't seen, because people don't even know about movies like that are more obscure than aren't Godzilla movies, like The Human Vapor, which is a great movie by Ishiro Honda, H-Man, which is super cool. A Tango, stuff like that. So I like to pick some of those off things too and say, hey, these people who made these movies are great craftsmen, and you can like mock the effects now. They don't look real to you. Not that they were supposed to anyway, but you can now appreciate what this team created and what they did. It's a whole subgenre. It's not just Godzilla movies. They made a whole visual scheme, which again, when people say it's campy or whatever, to me, it's beautiful because it's a totally different visual scheme than anything you will ever see in any cinema. They created something totally different. Nobody can do that. Nobody's ever done it. You know, DI tried and they did it to some extent, but not exactly. You know, I mean, whatever that initial team had something that was different than anything that's come before or after, you know, completely. Sort of like Harryhausen stop motion or whatever, something like that, where it's something in the genre that's so distinctive and so charming and imaginative and everything that I just gravitate towards it all the time. And I think people sometimes miss that when they're looking for something more realistic, you know, or done digitally or something. So it's more real to them. But to me, the digital stuff looks more fake than this stuff, actually. But to me, because my mind's wired analog, so it's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, I see it, I'm like, oh, it's a cartoon. That's cool, you know. But yeah, so I really do appreciate, you know, the sort of the earlier origins, and that's what I tried to do with my store and my, you know, sort of vending. It was funny when you asked, you know, hey Barry, when did you become a dealer, buddy? You know, like. Yeah, that's like I did it. It happened to me. I don't know how.
Oh, okay.
The transformation. No, how it happened actually is kind of a great story. I got divorced like everybody does, and so sorry about that.
Well, I've only been married once, and I'm not planning on getting divorced. So
I hope don't do it, really,
because I've got a great wife. She's honestly she's the best. She's amazing.
Well, I really admire people who are able to do that. Congratulations. But so when that happened, you know, I had this whole inventory of stuff. I had a lot of it stored where I lived. I had warehouse spaces and stuff. And then I sort of had to move everything. And I had this apartment. It might have well been, you know, a warehouse, you know, of kaiju monster stuff, you know, just crazy. And so I met a guy who is a great friend of mine now, who actually builds some of the models I'm going to show you that I'll be having at G-Fest. He's a great model builder named Damian Turner. You may know Damian. Do you know Damian or any of you guys who know? He builds models. He was at the House of Monsters with me. He's at the shows with me all the time.
I think in passing I've met him because is he behind your table sometimes?
All the time, almost all at G-Fest all the time.
Yeah, then yes.
Yeah. He's great. He's great. So I won. In the auction at the G-Fest and charity auction, there's an M1 Godzilla 1989 head. You know, it's a really nice mock-up head from the original mold of Godzilla from Violante, and it was pre-painted. So I actually put it on my head and started dancing because I was so happy. Mm-hmm. And Damien came up to me and said, wow, man, that was a great dance, and that's a cool thing. And we started talking, and then he came up to my car and saw all the stuff in my trunk that I had, and he was like, how much of the stuff do you have? And I said, I have roomfuls. And I took him to my place. He's like, you should open a store. It's like, what are you doing? You know? I said, oh, will you help me? He said, yeah, let's do it. And whatever. So he helped me out. We opened a store, and it was in 1996 that we started pretty much. Wow. I was always like doing fanzines and selling DVDs. And I had a video store and stuff, but I never was into like going to shows and having like a store so broadly. And I was so tired of going to comic book stores. There was nothing for me there. Mm-hmm. It was all Star Wars. Yeah. You know, it was all Star Wars and like more new corporate stuff and, you know, graphic novels, but there was nothing that I wanted. You know, like, well, let me make a store that has everything that I love and want in one place so people can have a place to go to get stuff, you know, because I couldn't, you know, so that's really why I started it too. So that was 1996 that I started to make a short story long.
No, I can definitely relate. Like going to like my local comic book stores, I always hated it because I was always looking for Godzilla stuff. And so I was growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, you know, as a kid and stuff like that. And I was like, there is just nothing around. There's it doesn't matter where you go. There's just nothing where you can go to as a store wise. And there's just nothing. And even comic book stores, that was the closest thing you could come to maybe on a very slim circumstance that maybe they might have one piece of Godzilla merchandise in there, and you thought that was the greatest thing you've ever found, you know, and stuff like that. And yeah, but I totally get that. Like it was barren wasteland back in the day.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me too. Comic book stores by me, same thing, Eric. But when they would get Godzilla stuff, and even to this day, flies off the shelf. Even if it's the comic book store that I go to and that I've been going to for 10 plus years, or probably even longer than that, they would get the NECA stuff. Well, you could get NECA at Target or Walmart or Toys R Us or whatever at the time. They would have it, and it would be more expensive at the comic book store, and it would still be sold out in a week. Like, I mean, whenever these places would actually get Godzilla stuff, it would fly off the shelves. Still, like I said, still to this day, I'll walk into my comic book store and they'll have some Bandai's or stuff that I will already have, but if I didn't, I'd be like, oh, that's really cool. The next time I go, a week later or whatever it is, gone completely.
Yeah, there's a store in Chicago, old comic book store, one of the cooler ones actually in the Loop in Chicago. And they have a little section of like Japanese stuff, Gundam and stuff like that. And they'll have some Godzilla in there. But when I go there, they hardly ever have Godzilla stuff. That section has a couple little things, but there's nothing there because anything they have, you know, right? Like you said, I'll go there once and I'll go there a couple weeks later and it's gone, you know? So that's the stuff that really is hot. I think they don't have as much access to it, you know, because there is much more stuff coming out now through like the Diamond Previews or Entertainment Earth and the things the companies they may deal with. But first of all, the prices on this stuff are not that great. So they probably don't order it that much because the discounts from those companies, I mean, you can get it for less for some other things, even on eBay, you know, than sometimes what those wholesalers are doing. So I think that's another reason they don't carry it, because it's just not as accessible to them still, even though there's so much of it, you know, which is kind of crazy to think, you know.
Do you get your stuff kind of through that way too, or you get?
Well, I get some of it. Yeah, I get some like of the more like mass produced, and there's some limited stuff on there. Yeah, too, which is cool. That's the stuff I'll really get if it's a limited something or exclusive, you know. But I get most of my stuff from Japan or from like other sources, from like collector sources or stuff like that. I try not to buy from there as much because, I mean, I'm lucky. I have a primary job, so this is my secondary job. Everybody has to have 2 or 3 jobs, of course. So, so this is my second job. So, I mean, I can afford to sell things, maybe not as quite a higher markup, which is what I try to do, you know. Yeah. But that stuff is so expensive already that it just doesn't make a lot of sense, you know, when they offer it through those channels. So I try to get it on other channels if I can, but you sort of have to today. You know, there's just so much stuff. There's such an inundation, as you know, of Godzilla merchandise now that you can just turn your head, and I'm sure you're getting your email feeds, all this stuff from Godzilla Store and from Cavity Colors or all these companies. Like, oh God, you know. So I can't keep up with it. So I just have to get what I can get, or get the things I like the most to be able to offer to people. That's what I do too. I get the things that appeal to me the most to offer to other people. And, you know, some things don't appeal to me as much. The newer Godzilla style, the American Godzilla style, I don't love that. But there's still some cool things that come out that are that. And I think people would enjoy, you know, so I'm not going to let my prejudice, you know, I mean, it's still cool merchandise. It's still a Godzilla thing. So and I understand that younger people might like that more too. So there's so much cool stuff coming out for every version of Godzilla that you have to pick and choose. You can't have it all. You can't even collect it all.
Oh, I know. We try and it's, oh, good God. The wallet hurts. The wallet hurts.
No. I mean, I'd love to have everything for everybody, but you just have to pick and choose. And like you said, I love to have a really big setup, colossal setup, you know, but I like to have things that I think people that will appeal to the people at the show, like at G-Fest. I want to have things that they'll like. And what I find at G-Fest too, which is interesting, not that you asked, is that, you know, I bring all sorts of monster stuff. I mean, half of it, 2/3 of it's Godzilla and Kaiju. But I bring, you know, old monster mags, monster books, other, you know, sort of Harryhausen kind of stuff, you know, that kind of stuff. People love that too. I mean, you know, movie posters, you know, but a lot of Godzilla posters, but other stuff. So, I mean, it's great to see people are so into the variety of stuff. And that's one reason I love to do the shows, is when I go to a show, I know what I want to see. But see, I'm different because I want to see like physical media, like paper. So I want to see like movie posters. I want to see mags. I want to see books. I want to see Blu-rays. I want to see toys. I want to see all that. So let me just bring it all, you know, and the people can stand here for 3 hours and look through stuff, you know, because it's really fun to like look through things and look through stuff and find things. I always enjoyed that at shows, you know, is finding stuff. And sometimes when there's so much of the same thing, or there's just these big setups, you can't really do that. You know, there's not, you know, you can look at some finals or something, but I want to look through stuff, like, you know, and really find things. And people, that's really fun to see the discovery people have at our table. You know, when they go, and I hear them to the side, like posters going, "Oh my God, man, that's the coolest thing," that kind of thing, you know? Yeah. So it's really, that's really the part of the fun of vending, you know, is having those surprises.
So speaking of vending and inventory, what will you be having at G-Fest? Do you want to start showing off a few things?
Yeah, I'll just show
to whet our appetites.
Yeah. One thing I really enjoy about being able to vend is like offering things that aren't that widely available, or just things of interest that aren't really one-of-a-kind things, or just kind of cool things. So my friend Damien this year, you know, he always has some model kits, but we always think too late. So this time we planned in advance a little bit. So he has like quite a few, like maybe 12, 13, 14 kits that he built, really nice, maybe more actually, of cool stuff that we're going to have there built up. And I just want to show you this, if you can even see it, but I think this is friggin' cool. It's really cool. Watch my language. This is a diorama of Gezora, right, from Yo, with like the whole beach, with like the nameplate. The light doesn't look great. He's all shot up, like when he got all shot up and everything. So that's kind of cool. Kind of weird,
cool.
Offbeat. Then there's just like here's a nice Sakai
2002,
right, exactly, and that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Super nice. Let me show a couple other fun ones. Oh, this one I love. This is one of my favorite styles. Where is he? Oh, he's way up here. Excuse me. Pardon me for a moment. Hopefully, everything will fall. This is a 84.
Yes,
which is awesome. He looks good. Gotta love him. And we got one of my favorites actually. This is Sakuda Rodan, which is an older kit.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Probably like the most, I would say, like representative of Rodan, just like in terms of likeness and stuff like that. It's also pretty solid. You can hang him if you want. It's kind of cool.
I like that.
He's also doing, if you guys know what the Paradise Swing Kit is, like he's doing one of those. So he's got a bunch of other stuff he's doing. Here's like a resin GMK, which is pretty cool.
Oh, I love that.
That's cool with a base. So he does stuff. He does a lot of custom base stuff. I have a pair of Billiken Gargantuas in the forest and stuff like that. So it's just nice to have that stuff, just even for people to see it. Because they go, what's that? Because they haven't seen it. So that's kind of fun. Then there's this is kind of cool. I think these are cool. These are the new theater exclusive, like movie monsters from Godzilla versus Kong, like the glittery stuff, which is kind of cool. I always like that, like the double vinyl with glitter and stuff like that.
Are you Barry? Are you comfortable telling your price, or no? Do you want to not?
Oh yeah, no. I can give an idea. I should do that actually, just to let people know, because that's always something people want to know. Absolutely, like these things. The nice. I like to have stuff like this, and I have a lot of figures like this size figures because those things are affordable. And most of this stuff, like this exclusive, I think is something like $30-$35. And most of the vinyls in this size are like $25 to $30 now, pretty much. So that's something that everybody can access, which is nice. And I have a whole series because there's a lot of like newer stuff that I don't have. There's something really cool that came out. Did you guys hear? What do you think of the? There's a version of the Godzilla 54 maquette. It's kind of like that prototype, that clay prototype version that was done for an art exhibit actually in Japan.
Oh, the
so it's a limited, like very limited vinyl. But I'll have a bunch of those because I thought that was super cool. I don't have one here, but that's something that's cool. It's a little more expensive. That's like because those were for this exhibit. I think they made such a limited amount. Those are like more expensive collector kind of vinyls, like 100, $75 to $100. We also have. Oh, I don't have it here. I have this is in the series. I love this series. It's one of my favorite series for like smaller figures. If you can't like do the X Plus because the X Plus are so giant, and take up so much room, the tails and everything. So this Toho Maniac series. This is Matango, but we also have one of the coolest things that come out. I only have a few of them because they're so hard to get and they're expensive. The Godzilla Towers.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh
That's
yeah.
Cool. So we'll have those. I'll have all their stuff because I really got a lot of it when it came out.
Okay.
Back to the Frankenstein and everything like that, Sarazawa, all that. So I just thought these were so nicely done. They may be a little pricey for what they are, in a way, but they're really detailed and they're really nice. And it's a way to get a really good figure. And except for the Godzilla Tower, which is more expensive, but for between like $75 to $100, you get a really nice figure. The Mysterians they did too, the Alien X, the Planet X controller. I just love that stuff. So we'll have all of that there for sure. And some of that stuff is getting harder to find.
Yes, it is.
I don't know if you can see it, Barry, but you already have somebody Godzilla train. That's Adrian, one of our other co-hosts. He'll be stopping by your booth.
Right on. You know what? I love everybody to stop by, and I like people to let me know like what so many people are associated with things in like fandom and the genre. And they don't even tell me, and I find out years later. Oh yeah, I do this, or I build models, and I'm on this magazine or something. So I love to hear what everybody's doing too. So that's great.
Well, hopefully by then we should be having shirts, so everybody that's coordinating or associated with our group should have all the same shirts.
Nice. So that's really
then
clever.
You can actually know exactly where we're from. So
speaking of that, I'm going to have some special shirts at G-Fest that nobody else will have, because my partner in crime, who I live with right now, my partner, she is an artist, and she got a heat press, and that transfers the molecules of dye into the fabric. It's not like pressing something on; it actually makes it in the fabric. So I'm going to be doing some very unique designs of things that I always wanted to see on a t-shirt that nobody's ever done, that I think the fans will love, but they'll only be like a few of each, so that's a fun thing too. And it's not a copyright problem. Don't worry about Toho, because it's stuff from other things. Like one of them, I will give it away, which is one of my favorite designs, and it's perfect for this time of year, and I think it's appropriate, is the Monster Times, which was an old periodical, a great like newspaper for monster news and classic monster stuff that was really fantastic. It ran for about 38 issues. It made a poster of in a campaign, a really serious campaign around the time of Nixon, Godzilla for president. Got a big Godzilla. It's got like a flag and stuff like that, but it's a serious political campaign. It looks like. So I'm going to make that into a shirt.
Very cool.
Beautiful. And it's a 1954 Godzilla. It looks great. Stuff like that. Yeah. Stuff that's sort of like from that era of cool, either box art or, magazine stuff, published stuff, magazine covers, that haven't been done that way, so I think we'll be offering that as well. So that's fun. Speaking of shirts, since you mentioned shirts.
Yeah. And Eric, can I cut you off? Because I think I know what you're looking at.
Okay.
Because I just noticed it too. And I was like, oh boy.
What's happening?
What
happened to you? What's going
on? So I peek in the way back behind everything, a certain poster.
Yeah.
And that is my absolute favorite movie and character. Is that available?
That is available. That's the French Grande from Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. The French, that's the 47 by 63. The French, have you seen the Italian poster for that as well? Or no? That's beautiful too.
Was it sideways?
No, the Italian poster is actually huge. It's a 39 by 55 inch, and it's got there's a publicity still, which I love, of Godzilla kind of down like this, like with his head bent, and Mechagodzilla, there, and he's kind of like looking like he's want to punch him or something. Yeah. That is the poster art done by a famous Italian artist with all these swirls and stuff like that and all these explosions. So it's like this one, it's just so beautiful, So I think I'll actually have that too. This one is like, I think, the better of the two, because it's got Titanosaurus and it's got other stuff going on. So that will be there. That will be there.
How much is the one?
Yeah, how much?
That's $150.
So right now, I'll take it. You have my money, sir. Have my money.
Now, I have to have something for the fans.
No, Eric, we can't. Don't
worry, people. I have tons, really a lot of posters. I have Japanese B2s. I have Japanese B1s. I have American, U.S. posters. I have a lot of posters. So there's plenty to go around, and other foreign posters too. So,
just a little note here. Just write on a notepad. Any Terra Mechagodzilla merchandise goes to Eric exclusively.
Well, some of it you probably have, but okay.
Yeah, I might.
I know you're pretty good. You're pretty good. I've been doing this for a while. So, but I will keep that in mind. I'll keep the poster in mind too, for sure.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. You guys have a good eye. It's hiding.
Yeah, I was like, oh boy.
And anybody listening now or in the future, once this drops on Spotify now, make sure you guys tell Barry that you heard about him through our channel. Because everything is 100% off for. I mean, what? No, I'm just. I kid.
And it's good to notice, and I get excited when people buy posters, because that's where I started in collecting. I started with movie posters and monster magazines before anything, and I was so into paper, moldy paper, the smell, so I liked older paper too. When I was as a kid, you could get 1950s posters for a really good price, when I was a kid, and I was young. You could get an original Godzilla one sheet for $25, which was a ton of money in 1975 or 6, whatever. But you could. So I amassed a nice collection, but that's where I started. So I really get excited when people are into posters. I think because posters do connect you to when the movie was released. That's the only thing you're going to get that was used or at least printed and made specifically connected with the distribution of the movie, which I'm really into. So I mean, from the time. So I think that's great to be able to get something like that. And I'll have, a lot of other posters and obviously.
It's crazy because like I love posters. I have, my good collection of posters and stuff like that. But man, like there's just so many that you just can't display them all because they take up so much room. And like if you see in the back, like I mean, besides posters, I have like shelving on the walls too. It's just like I can't do it all, but man, I just want to keep buying the posters because they're so cool.
Well, there is that hoarder's syndrome element, certainly, and paper does that for me a lot. I just can't like resist getting posters. So that's the one reason I had to like become a seller too, because what are you going to, like you said, what are you going to do with all that? And why, if I have all these things, why are they stored away in a warehouse space, in boxes where nobody can see them and nobody has access? There's no point to that, at all. And I'm not putting them up, although I love a lot of them, but you can't have it all, obviously. And I think that's really, the idea is to bring those things that I think are really great to other people. That's why when they look at my posters, they say, you have such a great collection, because it is a collection. It's just not random stuff. It's stuff that I would collect. You know what I mean? It's stuff that I would buy, and if I went there and saw at that price that I felt like I could buy actually, which is how I try to do it,
Yeah, that is such a great motto though. Like it really speaks that like you're really just trying to give what the fans and the collector want at affordable price, honestly. Like you're not trying to gouge the prices, you're not trying to make, all this money and everything. It seems like you're obviously you're a fan also, but you're really trying to be very fair with your prices. So then people can come and collect your stuff and everything and say, hey, I bought from him. It spreads the word, good word in the fandom and everything. And it's just good publicity for yourself too. And just means that you're a good person, honestly, too, because you're not a scalper. You're not a scalper,
That's really nice. And, the thing about G-Fest that's really important to me, since we're talking about, G-Fest and vending, is the kids that are there.
Absolutely.
There's so many kids, more kids than any show I ever do, obviously. And I want them to have a good experience and feel good about stuff. You know what I mean? And like, so I love interacting with the kids, especially. I like to hear like, what like they're into and what their perspective is, in terms of like the newer films versus the older films and what they really gravitate towards, what they collect. And I want to make sure that they don't feel like, like they buy something from me and find it somewhere for 50% less and like, oh, why, that's terrible, and they don't, most of them don't have a ton of money, obviously. And these things are expensive. And I couldn't imagine when I was a kid. I mean, I bought stuff. I couldn't imagine when I was 12 years old going to a convention and buying 3 Monster Arts figures, for like each, or an X Plus for 500. I don't know. I mean, that's beyond me. But more power to them. They're really into it. And some of these kids, they save up all year to come to G-Fest now. Their parents tell me they've been saving for all year just to come here. So you want to make sure, especially, that they get off on a good start, because while I go to other shows and it looks like those shows are waning because there's not a lot of interest from people under the age of 50, or 60, a lot of times, really. Or the interest is not necessarily in this subject matter. It's much newer subject matter, in the last 10 years, whatever. So it's great to have a base for supporting like Godzilla and making sure that like all the stuff will endure, because most of these kids, most of them, even though they like the newer stuff because they're exposed to it, I totally understand. If I was going to the theater seeing these movies, I'd want that stuff too. But they like the older films. They love the older films. They just love it. Their parents will say, oh, they watched Son of Godzilla 10 times. It's a beautiful movie for kids, and for me too. But I think it's great. But, there's so much like fantasy and like charm and imagination in those movies. Kids still gravitate towards them if they're exposed. If they're exposed properly to them, in a way. And so that's what I love too. And that's why I want to have, prices that are as fair as possible and be as honest as possible, because I want the kids to feel good and like love the stuff they're doing and get into it just like I did, And, you guys probably know when you go to a show or you go somewhere, you sort of know if the person who's like selling to you is interested, or if they are enthusiastic, or if they're kind of like, I get out of here, buy it, and I never liked that feeling when I was a kid. I never liked going to like a comic book store and trying to buy a few famous monsters and asking for a little bit of a deal, not much. And they go, that's the price. What are you trying to do? That kind of stuff, just, that kind of thing. So I learned from that experience. I won't repeat that.
Absolutely.
I mean, honestly, there was an experience actually last year at G-Fest. I won't say the dealer's name or anything like that, but this particular person came with a bunch of stuff and they just had the most negative attitude about it. And they were just like, hey, I'm just here to sell my stuff for as much money as I can, and then I'm out of here. He goes, I don't even care if I'm here till the end of the show or the end of the day. Like, he just was there to sell his stuff and he was gone.
Yikes.
It was so negative. I was like, wow. I was like, why are you even here then? Because
who was that, Eric?
I won't say who it is.
No.
I'm trying to trick you.
I will say one of the reasons I think about that is I had an experience years ago where there was another dealer selling, Bandais, and I won't say who, but somebody had bought a Bandai from them, an older one, and it was super expensive, and they came to me and it was much less. They're like, why did they charge that? I said, well, maybe they bought it for more. They can't help it, whatever. And the kid was really upset because he bought it for like three times the price or 4 times the price,
Wow.
and he didn't know, he wasn't like as experienced with things. I'm like, well, this is whatever. And they asked who could sell him more Bandais. And because I didn't have as many old Bandais, I don't have much of that. I have a lot of stuff, but not as many old Bandais. But I recommended, if I may, say Sean Lincolnback of Showcase, Daikaiju.
Yep.
He has a lot of Bandai stuff. He's very good with his prices, very nice to kids about that. So I sent him over, and the guy who sold it to him, who was near me, said, why'd you send him over there? Why'd you do that? Why'd you send him, whatever? I said, didn't you hear what he said? I said, I'm sorry, but, he was upset because of the price. So I sent him to Sean, and I think that we have to sort of, hey, again, it's my second gig, so I don't want to even talk about other people's prices. They price how they want, it's not my business. But when something like that happens, again, I want to make sure that the kids are having a good experience. And I know there's people like, and again, I can say, if I may, that, Sean of Showcase Daikaiju, if people want to buy Bandais or anything really, he's honest about everything, but particularly that for the kids, that's where I send people. I just send to people, and there's a couple others too, but I send to people who I know who are going to give people fair deals and be nice to them, and treat them well. So I think that's really important in any fandom, particularly in fandom when you're dealing with kids, is to, make sure that they have a good experience. And that's probably that's my favorite thing about G-Fest is talking to kids, like hearing what they're into. It's just, their perspective is just great. It's great. It's so like honest and direct about what they love about the movie.
And genuine, and the excitement is real and everything.
But I understand, like, well, you know what? That's exactly what I like. I can talk about, this is, I can really be enthusiastic about it because they know they got it,
To piggyback off your other point, Sean is a good guy. Actually, we reached out to Sean. We're trying to set up a time to have him come on and do what you're doing as well, because Sean is one of the people that I do trust, and
definitely.
He's honest. I like the fact, like, I remember, this is many years ago, when I was younger, and asking him, and he asked him for a deal, and he wasn't one of the dealers that bit my head off, and he flat out told me, he goes, listen, man, he goes, I actually paid more than I should have for this. I can't really knock this down. And I was like, no, that's cool. I appreciate you being honest. He wasn't like rolling his eyes and being ignorant and whatever. And because at the end of the day, like, we are all collectors, but I don't just want to piss my money away. I want to save as much money and get the best deal, because the way I look at it is, if I save $5 on every figure I buy, that's an extra figure I could potentially buy, so of course I'm going to ask to spend less money. But no, Sean's a good guy, and I hope we can get him on here.
No, I hope so. He's super knowledgeable, definitely has a really wide variety of stuff. So and he's always been really great with me too. So I hope you can, because he'll add a lot, definitely. And it's the same thing I do though. If I cannot bring the price down for somebody, I just can't do it. If it's something I got more recently or something I know, I'll just tell them what I paid for it, and say, hey, I paid about this for it, so this is all I can do. And they'll be, oh, okay, that's cool. I totally understand that, and that's what you do. You don't like give people a hard time, and they don't give me a hard time when I say that. They're like, oh, I understand, whatever. You just have to deal, just be direct, tell people what's going on,
And in fact, Barry, you and I have had that conversation years ago.
Yeah, we have. Yes, we have actually.
Where I was like, hey, could you do this? And you were like, hey, I'm going to be honest. I spent X amount on it,
Yep.
You're like, if I give it to you for that, there's no profit for me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I got it. Like, I wasn't mad. I don't think you were mad. You know,
Not
it
at
was just
all.
an
No,
honest conversation. And
no, when you
know?
communicate like that, things always turn out better. Nobody's ever mad.
Absolutely.
I mean, nobody get mad if you're communicating directly about things and being open. And and if people don't like, and I say, oh, I bought this for $400, so I can only do $475 or $480 or whatever. If they think that's too much, that's okay. I don't mind. If they're like, I'd rather can you do $450 or whatever that's okay. That's cool. But we both have an understanding, and nobody's feelings are hurt. It's fair. That's it. And that's all you really have to do.
Exactly.
Because some of the stuff, as speaking of stuff behind me, some of the X Plus stuff is crazy.
Yes.
Absolutely nuts.
I was actually going to ask. There's two of them behind you. The 67.
That's the set. That's the RIC. Wait, there you go. See, that's the RIC.
Oh, and it's the Rick too. Oh boy.
Yeah.
What are you asking?
That's
for
the
that?
kind of stuff though that's problematic because I like to have a range of things. I want to have the newer X Plus stuff, which I have, but I like to have like a display, as that's like my fun too, is seeing all the different boxes and all the cool like fronts. Like this style of box, I much prefer this style of the photo box to the newer, like that's the 2019 RIC, where it's kind of like that duotone kind of faded. I like these boxes, that really show the figures and are much more graphically satisfying. So I love having a bunch of those out, because it just looks so cool, with the fonts, the logos, and the photos. So I do have a lot of older stuff for the show, X Plus stuff. And again, I try to offer it. It makes me sometimes uncomfortable to say prices on things. Like if I have gigantics that are like really rare and stuff like that, but I don't buy stuff at a price where I feel, like I have to say, oh, sorry, that's $2,000. I don't buy stuff at a price like that, where it's like going to be so crazy that if I say it, I'll start sweating or something, freak out in the cold sweat. Oh God, that's a lot of money.
Do you have a price in mind for your 67?
Actually, I have to look. This stuff is from a collection that I got. I was lucky to get this big collection like 7 months ago, but it all was still in boxes. So today, before this podcast, I said I want to see what's in there for G-Fest and this event I have coming up, which we'll talk about, the Music Box Theater event. I just want to see I got to see what's in there. I was planning to go in there and look a long time ago. So you inspired me. Thank you. To finally open these boxes. There was so much cool stuff in there that I forgot about, and some things I'm keeping. But we took those out, and I have to look what I paid for them. But I guarantee you that something like this, I saw one on eBay a while ago go for well over, like $1,000 or whatever. Yep. So it's not going to be anything like that. I guarantee you, it will not be $1,000. It won't be close to that. But I know it may be in the like above 500 to 700, 500, 600. It's like that kind of range, but not like that. I know the range in general. So still expensive. But what are you going to do? Yeah.
And is that the 73 behind your right shoulder? I can't.
Let's see. The one. Yeah. Where'd he go? He's
74.
He's here. This guy.
Yeah, 74 of FSL.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the 74?
Yeah. That's the 70 favorite sculptors line. RIC, isn't that the 74?
Oh yeah, 74.
74. Yep.
It's the 74.
Yeah.
It's the 74. Now he's a newer one, so those kind of prices are like, what you would expect, like an RIC like that for like $250 around there, something like that. $225, $250, which is fair for an RIC. So that's what more you'd expect. But the older stuff that is still in the box, especially, that stuff's going wild,
Sure.
A lot of that stuff.
I know we love boxes. Me and Joe.
I love boxes.
We are box collectors, man.
Really
we love
difficult.
boxes.
That makes things really difficult.
Yep.
Because you take the thing out of the box and you have to put the box somewhere.
Yeah.
Then you get a gigantic, which you really don't need the box, but it is printed on, and I want to save the box, and you can't really do that much with it, so you have gigantic boxes, that have nothing in them, So, what are you gonna do?
What is the Varan?
That's fantastic. I'm hoping Damien can make one. That's a beautiful vinyl kit, like 16-inch long vinyl model kit that just came out from Billiken. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fascinating.
Wow.
It's excellent. And I'm going to try to have Damien can do that one pretty quick. So I'm going to try to have him do one before the show because Varan is a character, as you guys know, obviously, that is not really represented very much, sort of like very peripheral type of monster, although I think its design is super cool. So I like to have things like on monsters like that, or some of the characters that aren't as well represented, including some of the Gamma monsters and stuff like that. I like to have unique stuff on that as well, because I think their designs are cool. People can talk about. I think 67 Gaios is awesome. I love the way he looks. I love the sharpness of his face, his eyes. I just think he's a great monster. Even like Weiron, I just love those creatures and the way they're, the way they're executed. So. Absolutely. So I try to have a lot of that kind of stuff, the off stuff. And again, Damien makes the models of some of the peripheral characters, and I try to find things from Japan that have those, like the new, which I'll have there, the X Plus RIC Guiron, the big, the 12-inch series that's with the light up eyes. It's perfect. And when you put these things, like there was a set, which I will have there actually, of Gamma 67 and Gaio 67 was an X Plus set, and the RIC, they light up. If you take those things out and put them in a dark room and light them up, you swear you're watching the movie. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like facing them up and stuff like that. Just put them on a base, and it's like a film. It's not. They look so good.
I actually bought that the Gamma Gauss 67 from you at All Monsters Attack.
The newer release.
I mentioned it for a reason. Seriously, I thought, there's something going on here with that. That's great.
Yeah, that was, we had a running joke because you would, it was the price, and I would repeat it back to you, and
I'll never forget.
Yes,
I really enjoy like having a little old soft shoe with the shows too. You know what I mean? It's great. It's great. It was a comedy routine. That's good.
It was a great friendly banter, and we laughed. And
you know what?
I went on for like 10 minutes, and finally you were like, "All right, whatever, just take it."
You did. But it was because there was nothing going on at that show.
No.
So it was fun at that show, because that show was I mean, I'll say it on public, I don't care. Yeah. It was not a well done show. There was hardly anybody there. I think you were my best purchase there.
Yeah.
Which is great. Thank you. But it was just fun. It was fun to talk to somebody anyway, because there was just not that much action there at all,
But and honestly, like it was, but you sold it to him for a good price though.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point. I do my best, whatever you can do. And plus, if there is extra credit. Like if you're buying like a Gamma Gaio set, like that kind of thing, I got to give you a break, because that's really cool that somebody's actually, getting into that so much. So sometimes I try to be fair on everything, but sometimes it's like something like that that's so like near and dear to my heart. I'm like, oh, this person is like going all out for this, whatever. Then I kind of have to be sympathetic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I'll say this: the All Monsters Attack was probably a horrible show for the vendors, but Eric and I went just as fans, and it was awesome because there was it sucked that there was nobody there, but it was awesome that there was nobody there because
no competition. Exactly.
We just walked up and talked to whoever, got to go talk to Austin St. John, the Red Ranger, and just like shoot the shit with them for a few minutes. You know what I mean? Like that was awesome. That's something that you don't get to do a lot for like a lot of these super busy conventions.
No, and I will say it was a good show to buy at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I got the 5 foot tall Popey Ultraman
giant,
display,
Ultraman,
which I had at the House of Monsters and sold, and I was so distressed that I sold that at the end of the House of Monsters because somebody offered me a ridiculous price. Everything has its price, as they say, But I was so distressed about that, and then the guy at that show had one, which I hadn't seen ever again in my life. So, and there was other cool stuff there, so it was a good show to buy it actually too. There was some cool stuff there.
Yeah. I actually, I almost bought that. No, I bought. No, I did not. It was a banner or something.
Yeah, it was a big banner.
Furuya
signed and everything.
That was awesome too. That was great. Yeah, that's the great kind of stuff to find. That kind of unique stuff like that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. What else you got to show off? What's that red guy up there? Not the
guy. Oh, man! I got some of these in this series. This is kind of cool. CCP did these deluxe like art series of things. This is a Hedera.
Yes.
With his chimney, like kind of this like spattered version. They've got
I love that splatter.
Doll's eyes, those cool eyes. They're like doll eyes, That's cool. That's like, so I have a few of like the CCP, like the more like gallery type things that come in these fancy boxes and stuff like that, these black boxes with like shiny letters and stuff. So I have some of that kind of stuff. I have a lot of, which was the hottest thing at the last G Fest was Monster Arts.
Yeah.
With the crowd between like, the young crowd between like 10 or 12 and like 18 or something like that. That's the stuff that they want. And I don't blame them. That stuff is excellent. The new, which I don't have up here, but the new Godzilla 1972 that they did from Gigan, it's unbelievable. It's perfect. I mean, so they're really doing a good job on some of these things. And they're nice because they have some interchangeable things, some accessories. So so I'll have a lot of the Monster Art stuff. I have some of this one I know is pretty rare. I have a couple, like several convention exclusives of those things. Some of the newer ones as well. So there you go. See, that's it
right there.
That's it. Yep. You knew it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you think it's great?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of their best ones ever.
No, I agree. I can't. That Godzilla is particularly hard. The Hedogoji and that Godzilla, particularly hard to get the likeness in the face because of the way the jaw is. And I have a friend, and if you guys know this guy, Bill Goodmanson, who sculpts models. Resin Chef is the name of his thing, and he makes resin models.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right. So he was working on this Godzilla 72, and he was having such a hard time. He was like, I don't know how they do it, because it's such a weird perspective and the gun line and everything like that. And they got it. The SH Monster Arts guys, they got that expression in that face perfectly, So, and I love that style of Godzilla. So, it's exciting to see that kind of stuff when they put out really cool stuff. So we'll have, pretty good inventory of that. But we had a lot of pieces of some of those things. I don't buy a huge bulk, but some things I knew that would be popular. I had for me, a lot is like 6 or 8. Yeah. That's a lot. But so I had a lot of those kind of things. We were out of Monster Arts by noon on Saturday. I have none left of any of it. So that's like the hottest thing right now. And the X Plus stuff, obviously, too. And I probably have I'll have around 25 different X Plus figures at least there, 25 to 30 at least. And some loose as well. So I'm trying to emphasize again what I think the people want, mostly,
Will you have any Ultra Kaiju?
Oh yeah, for sure. I love Ultra Kaiju and I like Ultraman. So, that stuff, that subject in general is not as popular as Godzilla, obviously. At G-Fest, that is. Yeah. It might be at other conventions, I don't know. But still, there's people with interest. And I think the Kaiju are great. So I do have quite a few X Plus Ultra Kaiju. I have a lot of vinyls. I have a lot of the new Ultraman, like the Shin Ultraman figures, some of the more deluxe ones. I have a couple of gigantic X Plus light up, some of those, the Shin Ultraman. And they did an Ultraman C rather. They did a light up, a large one of that. So I have some of that kind of cool stuff. So Ultraman's great. That's also the origin of it all too. So I like to go back to the source, the original Godzilla Showa series, original Ultraman stuff. That's where it all started, So, and Ultra Q as well, I think is a cool show. So I have a lot of that kind of stuff as well, definitely. I just didn't put it up there. People don't go, oh, it's, they don't get excited. But
unfortunately,
Any chance any chance you have an X Plus EX Gamora?
I do have.
That's an old one.
Yeah. I don't think I have that. Did they do a newer version of him or no? Am I thinking of something else?
No, I think it came out maybe 10-ish years ago, Eric?
Yeah. Yeah, I do have some of those older ones from that series. I don't think I have him. I think I have a Pagos and something else from that series, but not a Gamora, unfortunately. Okay. Yeah, he's a great monster. I love that monster. He's a great monster.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. We're creeping up here on an hour. Barry, do you want to talk about the Music Box Festival?
Oh, please. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. I would have forgotten.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we were talking before the podcast, but before we started. Thank you. Yeah, there it is. At the Music Box Theater in Chicago, coming up, starting Friday, June 7th, actually. This is the Saturday, June 8th. They're doing a Showa era marathon for 24 hours, every Showa Godzilla film. Now, that to me is a dream come true. Unfortunately, it's a nightmare because I'm so old, I can't stay up for the whole thing. But it's still fantastic to have an opportunity to see these films on the Music Box Theater, which is like a 750-some seat theater, a large, old, big screen theater like that. So, and they're showing King Kong versus Godzilla in 35 millimeter, which will be cool. And there's the schedule right there. So I'll be vending there. There'll be some other kaiju vendors there as well. So it's going to be like a mini G-Fest with all this programming going on. And that's at the Music Box Theater in Chicago. And it starts Friday, June 7th. It goes through the week until the following Thursday. And each day they'll have double features. I told you they're showing Mothra in 35 millimeter one night, and then I think one of the newer Mothra films is a double. So just a lot of great stuff to see, and it's just an opportunity because right now, since Godzilla's so hot, I showed Godzilla versus the Smog Monster at a showing I did in Chicago about a month and a half ago, and it was fantastic. Sold out, people loved it. And again, part of the fun is that people hadn't seen it. Wow, this is one of the craziest movies I've ever seen. I never knew a Godzilla movie was like this. I never had an idea it went this far out, and was so intense. So this is just a fun series to see. 1954 starts at, and it goes in chronological order. So, as we said, if you love Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, good luck. You're going to get a coffee for that one. That's going to be like 4 a.m. or something. 5. But yeah, so this is a great event. And again, I'll have a lot of stuff there. Even though I don't have huge space there because it's in the lobby of a movie theater and they have a lounge and stuff too, which is really nice. So there'll be some dealers probably. I'm still bringing a van. So I'm going to bring a lot of stuff because I have so much stuff. So I'm just going to bring a lot of stuff. We'll see how it goes. And then I'm going to run in with all of you and watch the movies, most of the movies, see as many movies as I can. So yeah, there you go. There's the schedule. And it's just a really nice variety of films. They're showing Godzilla versus Gigan again and Destroy All Monsters again for those who can't maybe stay up till
right.
Midnight. So that's really nice. Actually, I'm going to go to Gigan. I'm going to see that for sure. Biollante on the big screen. That's really a rare chance, to see that. Mm-hmm. And they're showing Ghidra again, which is nice because that's so beautiful. So they're doing some like reshows in the 54. They're showing, and Return of Godzilla they're showing as a standalone. Probably the Japanese version, as Return of Godzilla, not Godzilla 85. And there's Mothra 35 millimeter. Mothra versus Godzilla is that night as well. So what a double feature that is. Who wants to see the original Mothra and the original Mothra versus Godzilla? What a great double. Mm-hmm. GMK is good to see. Do you guys like GMK?
Yes, love GMK.
Yeah. Love it. I was one of my favorite of any of the newer series of Godzilla movies, to me. So yeah, I do like that one a lot. And there's, again, fantastic. Mechagodzilla is great to see. Mm-hmm. And a nod to the newer stuff, again, which I don't gravitate towards as much, but it's still good to have that there for, the variety for the people who want to see it. So there's a center they're showing. That's great. So I hope people, it'd be really fun. I mean, it's sort of late notice, but anybody hears about it, that's really a great event. And it's like a smaller G-Fest is what it's really like, Yeah. It's fun.
And it's only $35 for general admission and $30 for music box members. So check it out. Yeah, and here's your the vendors list movies, right here, and you're on it. So,
yeah, it's exciting. I never even saw the list, but that's cool. They have like 7 vendors or something. That's not bad,
So yeah, hopefully it's a good turnout for you, and you have a good showing and stuff. It sounds like a lot of fun. I
can see the movies. If I can movies, what's better than that?
I wish there was stuff like this around me because, man, I always miss out on this kind of stuff.
Where are you?
I'm in Wisconsin, actually. And I'm in a littler, city with maybe like 80,000 people, but nothing like this happens around me anywhere whatsoever. So I always have to travel, or it's just way too far that I can't do it. So that's why my big excursion trip is going down to Chicago, visiting Joe and his wife and staying with them, and then going to G-Fest every year. So,
next time you come, you could visit me too.
Absolutely.
Please, yeah. 100%.
Well, Eric, anything else you want to ask or say, comments before we wrap up?
No, just thank you for coming on and showcasing your stuff. I cannot wait to see you again at G-Fest this year, as always. I have the pleasure to help out Joe and Frank at Beasts of the East this year again, so that'll be fun. So I'll get to see you early and everything like that. And just hopefully you do well at the Music Box Godzilla event and stuff like that, and then we'll see you at G-Fest. So
that's exciting. And Joe, let me know if you're coming to the Music Box if you can make it.
Yeah, that'll be honestly a last minute probably decision depending on what happens with work and stuff. But I'm definitely gonna try and make it. That's really cool. I wanna come, even if I can only get there and go for an hour or two, just to kind of walk around and see.
See atmosphere. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. And thank you guys so much for having me on here. It makes me feel very important in the world of kaiju, and allowed me to stack some stuff up, which I always love to do. So anytime I get a chance, putting Godzilla stuff on top of each other. It's great. So thank you so much for having me on. Really, it was really fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. It's honestly, like I said, we wanted to showcase people that we have personally bought from that have a positive reputation with us, and you are definitely one of those people that come to mind. You're honest, and that's a-okay in my book. So
well, thank you guys. It makes me feel good about everything. Thank you so much. Really, I appreciate it.
So if you guys are going to G-Fest, make sure you check out Barry at House of Monsters, where I don't think the locations have been released yet, right, of where we're all setting up, like where your booth will be.
I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be, when you come in, straight to the back, and you'll see it because all the stuff is stacked to the ceiling. So you always notice that. Like if you see stuff going to the ceiling because we get a ladder, that's me straight in the back. I believe I have the same booth. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where to find me. Just come in there and look. Oh, God, this stuff's going to fall on somebody, and you'll know.
And if people can't make it to G-Fest, they can find you at houseofmonsters.net.
That's right.
Yep.
Exactly. Yes, that's a website that my partner made for me. So it's great, and we're working on. But there's still a lot of stuff on there, and you can actually see pictures of the old House of Monsters store. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, very dense. So you can check that out too. That's kind of fun. And then also I'm on eBay. My seller name, of course, is King of Monsters. One word.
King of Monsters.
Okay.
King of Monsters. I'm not King of the Monsters, but you know who King of Monsters is, and that's love. So, yeah, exactly. So I'm around, but definitely I hope I can see a lot of people. It'll be just fun to see people at G-Fest. It's a blast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always so fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Barry, thank you again so much. Eric, thank you for tag teaming this with me. It was a blast to get to see a little sneak peek of some G-Fest goodies. Obviously, there was one or two things that Eric had his interest piqued about, mine too. And we'll have to bum rush them when we go to unload. So, but everybody,
unfair advantage.
To everybody that's tuned in live, thank you to all of you that'll watch this at a later time. Thank you as well for watching. Make sure you again check out Barry at House of Monsters, and everybody, don't forget our subscription giveaway is tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, where we'll be giving away a bunch of goodies, Monster Arts X Plus posters, kits, etc. Just completely free, just as a way to say thank you for all the listeners and subscriptions. So all right, that'll do it. Everybody, thank you. Take care. Eric, anything? No. All right, that's it.
Bye. See you guys there.
We'll see you guys. Bye.